Good afternoon, Councillor Simon. We can start the meeting now. Please unmute.
Brynhawn da, I Chynghorydd Simon Croft ydw i Gadeirydd I Pwyllgor Trosolwg a Chraffu Gofal Cymdeithasol ac Iechyd. Good afternoon, my name's Councillor Simon Croft and I'm Chair of the Social Care and Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Can I welcome everybody to the meeting, which is a multi-location meeting, and can I apologise to the members present in the chamber. I was aiming to come to the chamber and chair the meeting from there, but I was tested positive for COVID this morning, and I don't quite know how infectious the new brand of COVID is, but I didn't really want to risk giving it to anybody and in the chamber. So we'll start with my contribution online at the moment. Right. The meeting will be live streamed and recorded and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Should the live streaming fail, the meeting will continue and a recording will be available through the Council's website following the conclusion of the meeting. Can I remind members that translation facilities are available, and for those attending remotely, to choose your language of choice. For those wishing to speak in the chamber, please raise your hand. For those attending remotely, please use the raise hand function. We will alternate between those speaking in the chamber and remote attendees. For those attending remotely, please note that those in the chamber will be unable to use the chat facility. Committee members who are attending remotely are required to leave their camera on throughout the debate and when voting in order to maintain the integrity of the decision-making process. If you do need to leave the meeting temporarily, please pop a message in the chat function so the Democratic Services Officer is aware, and then let us know when you return. I expect everyone present and participating in this meeting to conduct themselves appropriately and with respect to one another's. That applies to members, officers and anybody in the public gallery. When the debate's open for members, committees members will be able to speak and put their questions first, followed by non-committee members. While debate will not be stifled, can we remind members that any questions should be focused on the subject matter and avoid repetition. If individual speeches are negatively impacting the overall time for discussion and becoming unmanageable, I will defer to the committee's rules of procedure, which limits length of speeches to 5 minutes. Right, the first item of business on the agenda is appointment of a vice chair. Can I ask for nominations, please, and seconders?
We've got Councillor Austin in the chamber, Chair, so I'll hand over to him.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd. Hoffwn i enwebu y cynghorydd Abdul Khan fel is-gadeirydd y pwyllgor yma.
Thank you, Councillor Austin. Have I got a seconder, please?
Councillor Kay Head and Councillor Louise, I think, both
seconding. More the merrier. Thank you both, Louise and Kay. Right, may I have a show of hands, please, for those in favour? And on Zoom, please, as well. I think that's fairly well carried.
I think.
Yes. Right, thank you very much indeed for that. I would like, if the committee is content at this point, I would like to hand over the chair to the new deputy, Abdul, because it will chairing a meeting from Zoom with the chamber is very difficult, and this is my first time, and my throat is rather sore too. So Abdul, if you would like to take the chair, is everybody content with that, please? Thank you very much.
I think
so. Thank you, Abdul.
Thanks,
Thank you, Chair, all colleagues for having faith in me. As Chair said, he phoned me while I was watching the King's speech that he had a COVID. So the reason I'm mentioning that, you guys will go easy on me. because I got on my right the leader there, on my left the chief executive. So no pressure, Abdul. Right. We can go on to number 2, apology for absence, please, Jane.
Just 2 apologies from Councillor Kathy Augustine and Dav Jones.
You noted. Declaration of interest. Code of Local Government Conduct chairs to remind members that they must declare the nature of their declared personal interest. Do I have any? None. Urgent items, not aware of any.
No urgent item.
So you can go to the minutes of the last meeting, page 4. I'll go page by page. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. And page 8. Okay. So if there's no queries, can we ask someone to propose that it's the correct meeting? Got Councillor Austin, Councillor Mandy, Councillor. Well, we've got a proposer and seconder. Can we show in favour, please? Thank you very much. All in favour? Anybody against? No. None. Thank you. That's approved. Item 6 is question to cabinet members.
No.
And I have none?
No.
Okay, then, thank you. To review forward programs, please, can I remind members that they only raise topics that relate to the remit of this committee. So I take it you've done your homework and you all have been looking at it. Is there anything, rather than going page by page, anybody have any issues or any concerns? Sorry, don't you come in?
Afternoon, members. So just a very quick update. So following the pre-election period, reports have been rescheduled accordingly, and they are included on the floor plan, which was in your agenda packs on pages 9 to 18. So that's my short update.
Anybody else, any? No? Okay, then we move to our first. Do you want to propose and second it just to ratify that? Got Mandy, Denise. All in favor, please? Those in Zoom as well? Great, thank you very much. Okay. Got combined forward program. Is that you done again?
I've got no comments to make on that, Chair.
Okay. Next one is to consider report by the Strategic Director, Social Care and Education on the following matters. So I think if you ignore your original agenda, we're bringing forward item on page 161 to 215, His Majesty's Inspectorate of Probation Inspection, HMIP Joint Inspection on Conway and Denbighshire Youth Service. I think this will be introduced by Councillor Liz Roberts. Hand over to you, Liz.
Thank you. Firstly, may I welcome Nicola Stubbins, the Director of, are you Strategic Director the same as Jenny? Corporate Director of Social Care in Denbighshire, and Alison Cowell, Assistant Director of Children within Betsy Cadwalla, the Health Board. So I welcome you to the meeting today. This report is to feedback on the recently published His Majesty's Inspectorate of Probation Inspection, HMIP, and it is a report following a HMIP joint inspection of Conway and Denbighshire Youth Justice Service. The inspectors carried out fieldwork in Conway and Denbighshire YJS over a period of 2 weeks, beginning with assessing cases on the 15th of January 2024. They inspected cases and also interviewed case managers as part of case assessments, and the inspectors also met with Youth Justice Board members. The As a bit of background, the Conwy and Denbighshire Youth Justice Service is a multi-agency statutory partnership established in April 2000 and further to the requirements of the Crime and Disorder Act 1998. The main aim of YJS is to prevent offending and reoffending by children and young people aged 10 to 17 years in the Conwy and Denbighshire area, and the service is hosted by Conwy Local Authority on behalf of the partnership. So I'd like to thank the Chair of the Board, Jenny Williams, our Strategic Director here in Conwy, and Annis Gray-Fraser, Service Manager for the Conwy and Denbighshire Youth Justice Service, and all staff members from all partnerships for the amount of work which went into this inspection and the diligence of the team in carrying out the recommendations from the actual inspection. I will now pass you over to Annis to share the report with you today.
Sorry,
Jenny.
we haven't told you it's me to start with.
Beg your pardon.
Apologies.
Jenny, go ahead.
Prynhawn da pawb, good afternoon. I'm Jenny Williams, Strategic Director for Social Care and Education. And whilst it's a report that is it has been a real challenge for us in terms of areas that we certainly need to improve on, I'm really pleased. And as you can see, it's been a real team effort to present to you today our improvement plan. I'm going to just give you a little bit of that background and context, run through the recommendations, and we've got a short presentation, and then hand over to Anest, who, without Anest Fraser's input, and delighted that she is our permanent service manager, I don't think we'd be in this position. Her work has been sterling, and also thank you to other colleagues within the management team of the Youth Justice Service. We have Fran and Donna just to my left here as well. So absolutely indebted to them for their skill, expertise and knowledge in navigating us through this difficult period. As Councillor Liz has said, also delighted that my close working colleague, Nicola Stubbins, is joining me, I think, for the first time in our committee. Nicola and I work closely on many areas across Conwy and Denbighshire, and I'll be joining Nicola at the Denbighshire committee too. So it is a team effort, and thank you as well to Alison from the Health Board for joining us. And also behind me we have our Chief Exec. The Youth Justice Service duties are the responsibility of slightly unusual legislation, partly devolved, partly non-devolved, but the responsibilities lie with the chief executives of both Conwy and Denbighshire. And again, thanks to Rhyn for his support in not only taking part in the inspection, but supporting me with moving things forward in terms of our improvement plan, meeting with staff. And also we have had a follow-on meeting since the inspection with HMIP, which was really positive. Slightly unusual step. I think because of the range of partnership concerns that had been considered by the inspectors, they wanted to follow up with us very quickly in terms of what we were able to put in place, and I'll touch on that, or Anest will touch on that in terms of the improvement plan shortly. So a lot of activity, and it is really helpful, I think, to have the opportunity to go through this inspection here at scrutiny. Normally our inspection reports would be within the audit committee, and the plan and the improvement monitoring will go back to audit committee, but today we will take our time and have a little bit of debate and scrutiny here, so that is really helpful. So this inspection was interesting. I think it was the first inspection in Wales to be a multi-inspection approach. It was a really intensive period. So we had, obviously, as is stated in the first page of the report, a whole range of inspection teams from England and our Welsh inspectorates, so CIW, Estyn, and then obviously we had HMI probation, HMI, Fire Rescue Police, and it was I think an experience for them as well in terms of coming together across those inspectorates and navigating 2 or 3 weeks of their work, where they would normally be visiting organisations and local authorities independently. I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad thing, but we were told it was the first and the last of such inspections. So I think the approach going forward will not be across the range of inspections teams, rather than it will be the focus of HMIP for youth justice. What we've seen in Wales is an approach that's moved to multi-agency inspections around safeguarding areas rather than specific services. So I think it was just a test of how that how the approach worked. It was certainly, as I say, a lot of work, but we've come out the other end. So just in terms of the recommendations, I'll just highlight those for you. I think it was really interesting and quite refreshing that they were not, you know, in a large number. When we look to areas of improvement, we often get inspection reports that have a range of actions with very unrealistic timelines that just are rather overwhelming. But I think, in fairness, the inspection team have done well to kind of consolidate into the actions we have before you today, and we've already made significant improvements and are working on them. We didn't hesitate to action, and in fact they were areas we'd noted ourselves before the inspectors arrived, so we'd started to make some changes. So certainly the first area, and I know this had already been put in place and is an ongoing part of our work as a service, and that's undertaking a detailed needs analysis to inform the board and partnership of the service, that services that need to be provided within the youth justice service across Conwy and Denbighshire. And I think the premise of that was on a very, big positive of this inspection is that whilst we require improvement, the core function of the team was cited as very good. So I don't want you to lose that as I'm talking through areas of improvement. But clearly the theme was around the support we provide for that core team and the partners around them. So in undertaking a detailed needs analysis of the children that we consider to be part of the service, that should highlight and does highlight the varying multi-agency needs. So that is in place, and it is an ongoing process. Secondly is making sure that there are effective information sharing agreements with the virtual school so that children can access services without delay. There was a real theme around education, and a couple of years ago we had a thematic inspection from HMIP on the educational outcomes and needs of children within the youth justice system, and that was relatively positive. And we're really pleased to say that we work very hard to ensure children access their usual route to education, but of course some will find themselves needing more input and support through specialist provision, either through our pupil referral unit, home tuition or otherwise. So again, improving those relationships across both counties with the education teams is something that we'd already identified, and Anest has taken forward really positively. Thirdly, it's about monitoring the children's access to partnership services, and this was a key function they felt to the board. The board is a significant part of the governance of youth justice teams. It's slightly unusual in that it straddles both operational and strategic. There's a statutory membership, and I think it's fair to say that membership had been an issue for us, and certainly membership changes and not having all the partners that we needed around the table. in the last 2 years, I can report that, you know, membership has been really strong, and we've also had you know, others that we've co-opted onto the board, which have been really helpful, such as the Police and Crime Commissioner, and representatives from the judiciary, etc. And that's been really positive. We've had the support of the Welsh Youth Justice Service in undertaking some board improvement sessions, and that's been really positive. I'm from the days when youth justice used to be part of children's services, so I'm firmly a believer of a children first approach, and that's certainly what we hope to achieve by having that strengthened board arrangement. Children shouldn't be identified by you know, symptomatic behaviours such as offending or criminal exploitation. They are children first and deserve their time and attention in terms of their holistic needs, which is our ethos. So moving forward, the heads of children's services were referenced across both counties and both contributed to the inspection. And so the recommendation there was about making sure services contribute effectively to keeping youth justice children and people safe and well, but providing representation at the outer court decision-making panel, training social workers to understand their roles and responsibilities when co-working cases, and contributing to effective joint assessment and planning. I think it's fair to say that when, as we all know, local government is under pressure, and certainly we see that within our social work teams across both counties, and no doubt we have difficult times ahead when we're at a time where we really need growth in the services. Demand is complex, and we need to keep caseloads low to ensure good outcomes. And I say this not by means of an excuse, but just to give you the context that sometimes we can then work in our silos. And that was the premise of this recommendation, that we need to break out of those silos and work to support children within the system collectively and holistically. And again, Anna will touch on that, but pleased to say that, you know, that relationship is healthy across those teams. Moving on then, and Alison's here if you have some questions later on. We have struggled and you know had many conversations up to now with the health board. Also, our chief exec has discussed this with the health board's chief exec. And it was about providing, this recommendation is about providing expedited access to health services for youth justice service children. As a minimum, this should include speech and language services, physical and sexual health services, and emotional and mental health services. And again, we have been without that input for some time. We've got plans in place. I guess we would like it to be a bit more pacey, but there are certainly plans in place to develop this service. I think across the UK and certainly in Wales, there's a real issue with speech and language services across a range of provision, and certainly other youth justice board chairs have also raised this with Welsh Government. And certainly, as we know, emotional and mental health services are under huge pressure, not only within Betsy Cadwaladr, but again across the UK. So you know, it's an issue that's broader than this service, but specifically we need that input. It works in terms of getting that collaborative approach, and we need that. The next recommendation then, it was in relation to an interesting one, because a non-devolved area, the National Probation Service, who were, you know, obviously inspecting us, and that was about providing a mandated probation worker for the Youth Justice Service and making interim arrangements to support staff with risk management, as we have a vacancy and have had for some time. Again, when you look at other services across Wales and wider, probation are a service under immense pressure, significant vacancies in North Wales, to the point where, you know, we're receiving regular updates around risk management of offending in the community and the prison cohort to free up some capacity. So it's unfortunate that the Youth Justice Service takes, has a raw deal in respect of that with a service that is struggling to meet demand. I've met very regularly and escalated at all levels this issue, met regularly with the Welsh chair of the probation service in Wales, but also the North Wales head of service. And it's a real issue for us, but it's very much about their capacity to support. And Honest helpfully brings cases now to, case studies to the board, and we can see that gaps within health and probation are the areas where we're struggling, and where we don't have those gaps, where we have had the input, the outcome for the young person has been so much better. So we do need to ensure that we're holding the probation service to account in that regard. And then the Careers Wales recommendation there was about providing adequate and accessible post-16 information and advice and guidance to all children in the service. Now, again, there's a theme, isn't there? Careers services, they're non-existent. They have really reduced in Wales and wider. We see that within education service and our schools. We've seen the removal of work experience because Careers Wales have not got the capacity to support that approach. It really is a concern. We do have a North Wales link on the board, and she has started to make inroads with Honest and the team in respect of that careers advice. But in terms of, a big focus, and you'll hear this in the next section from Honest, is really about keeping children out of the system, out of the offending system, giving children and young people real hope for their future, and education and careers are part and parcel of that. So it's a really important area of the service that needs to be developed. So they were the recommendations that have come out of the report. The report was published in May, and we expect we'll have a return visit in the next 12 to 2 years, 12 months to 2 years. I think there's again inconsistency really in terms of that approach for follow-up inspection, but generally because of the category we're in, we are expecting that, although HMOV haven't advised us firmly but when that will be, but I'm sure they will return. So the improvement plan is something, again, we're really proud of, and it goes above and beyond the recommendations, but I'll let Honest just touch on this for you, because I think I've delivered the bad news. I want Honest now to take us forward with the good news. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Anna.
Good afternoon. As Jenny said, I'm Honest Fraser, and I'm really newly appointed. Well, I say newly appointed. I was appointed to the role on the 1st of April. So what I'm going to do is give you an overview really of the improvement plan. The improvement plan, I just want to clarify really at this point, is not just a response to the inspection findings or the recommendations within the report, but it's also around the aspirations of our service. We want to be an outstanding service. So what we've done is merge some of the action plans we had in place, because we had identified, as Jenny shared, we'd identified where our challenges were as a service and what we needed to improve. So this plan is our plan to move things forward. We've had a clear focus, obviously, on the recommendations and the findings, but we've also preempted service development and practice development of where we want to be as a service in response to some legislative changes that we know are on the horizon around victims and around ensuring a child-first and trauma-informed service. So we are aware that there is a new government at the moment, and things are likely to be changed. So we are reviewing, and we've been responsive. So this improvement plan is our working plan and the focus of our work. As Jenny touched on, really, there are major challenges for youth justice because it's not devolved in Wales, and we're often having to navigate the Westminster-led agenda as well as the devolved issues when it comes to Senedd Cymru and some of the agenda there. So navigating that can be an extra challenge really on our service, and often sometimes is in conflict in terms of the direction of travel of Wales to make sure that we are treating children as children first. What we are clear of really as a service and as a management board is that this improvement plan is dependent on partnership and a corporate response. And I know Jenny referred to the Crime and Disorder Act. That placed the duty on local authorities to establish youth justice services, but the responsibility of delivering services is on each and every member of the partnership. So it's around police, health, third sector when it comes to some of the substance misuse, education. So what we're clear about is that the success of this improvement plan is dependent on partnership working. So what I'll do is I'll go through, I know you've had the opportunity to look at the plan in detail. What I'm going to do today is give you some assurance and give you an update of where we're at under each and every category really. So in terms of governance, Jenny did refer to the need to review the membership of the management board around developing some structures and capturing information. This work had already commenced. We had in October 20, I forget what year we're in, October 23, had a development day for the management board, which was hosted by the chair of the Youth Justice Board for England and Wales, Keith Towler, and we had support from Youth Justice Services and the YJB Cymru in terms of Mark Cox. So we commenced on some of this work and we already had an action plan in place. So we have reviewed the board membership. We've reviewed the supporting structure around that in terms of information sharing, in terms of the format of the management board, which has the strategic oversight of the service. And we're able to evidence the progress in terms of capturing information and being able to identify the needs of the cohorts within the service. We've identified where we've got the deficiency and the lack of resource around partnerships contribution when it comes to probation and health, and we're well on our way in terms of addressing those issues. There was a discussion this morning and we know that health post is out for advert at the moment and we have interim arrangements in place to cover that deficit. We've reviewed service level agreements and we're going through that process at the moment. We've reviewed and we've completed the task on Careers Wales. We've got a new service level agreement, we've got new pathways in place, and we've got a clear link now with both local authorities around the youth engagement framework, delivering in line with the Welsh Government agenda. There are several other areas in terms of governance, but I think we're yet to work on some of them. So I'll move on to the leadership. Clearly, there was a need to look at stabilising the management structure within the service. We had, as a service, been in an interim arrangement, staffing arrangements. We've conducted a real comprehensive review of the capacity of and the structure of the service, and we've got a clear vision around how we're going to achieve outstanding leadership within the service. So I have taken proposal to the management board and we have now a new management structure in place. The posts are out for adverts, closing on the 23rd of July, and we hopefully have interviews on the 5th of August, and we will be appointing to those roles. Those roles will be crucial in terms of delivering the improvement plan around the streams of work within the service. So one role will look at the preventative elements of the work, one manager and the structure will look at the statutory work in terms of the court-ordered interventions that we deliver within the service. And the other aspect of the work will look at the partnership approach, about holding kind of partners to account, but also that opportunity in terms of proactive, in terms of developing and producing and co-production of services along with partners, but also with children and young people that we serve. We've also done a significant piece of work with the police around our out-of-court disposals. Although we were commended for that work, we recognise that there are changes afoot nationally in terms of out-of-court disposals, and we want to make sure that we have the resilience within our service to be able to deliver on the recommendations of the Welsh Government and the Westminster Government. We're co-working effectively with other services at the moment. We've got clear pathways, especially when it comes to exploited children and the children who are at risk in terms of OCG, organised crime groups. And we've involved our children and young people in that process as well. And we have reviewed our partnership working and we're in the process of making sure that we're able to deliver on core statutory duties and responsibilities, but we're also looking aspirationally at the areas where we can improve outcomes for children and people and working with partners to deliver that. I've touched on prevention in terms of the work that we've done with police, and we're also working around ensuring that we have the correct data within our service and within the management board to be able to respond to some of the key performance indicators that we're held to account for by the Youth Justice Board. We in Conwy and Denbighshire have the highest number within our cohort of first-time entrants, that's children coming to the notice of the police. I think it's a reflection of the communities that we serve and the transient nature of the communities that we serve, but we have a challenge and it's unusual to North Wales. So we have tasked our police colleagues to look at that, but we've tasked that on a regional basis because there are key themes that are unique to North Wales. And I think it goes without saying, given the population, that there are opportunities for us to work if our levels are higher than South Wales and some of the inner boroughs of London, that we have a significant piece of work to make sure that the data that we're collating is correct and that we then respond to those services. In terms of victims, we have I think it's important from the work that we do that most of the children and young people that we work with are actually victims themselves. They're victims of OCG and exploitation, but they're also victims of crime. So we're making sure that we are delivering services in line with the child first approach and the basic principle, the 5 principles of trauma-informed practice. But we're also aware of the changes that have come to force in terms of the victim charters, and we want to make sure that victims within our local area of Conwy and Denbighshire feel safe and they feel that they've got a voice in terms of determining interventions and reparative activities for children and people that we work with. And the other area of significance really, although it hasn't been picked up within the inspection report, is about disproportionality. We want to make sure that we have that local data intelligence and information to be able to ensure that we provide a service that meets the need, but also that we are challenging any subconscious bias, that we're making sure that we meet the needs of children and people. So we have developed some training, we have tasked police as well, because I'm aware of some reports, maybe some of you sit on the North Wales Safeguarding Board in relation to stop and search and the number of young males who are being stopped. And we've seen kind of some themes as well in terms of young women involved in cybercrime and crime that's related to TikTok and Snapchat and a whole a range of other. So we're wanting to make sure that we have a service predominantly to meet the needs of the children and people we serve, and a Welsh language response as well. For me, it's not just an issue of language, it's about making sure that we are aware of the cultural needs. It's not about providing something bilingually, but that we are able to engage with the children and the diverse needs of our community, because the needs of somebody who lives in Roost or who lives in Ruthin or lives in another area can be quite different to the needs of the children and people who are around the more urbanised areas within the both authorities. So we're making sure that we are actually responsive to those needs and making partners accountable and responsible for that as well. So all in all, underpinning this is also our child first approach. So we need to ensure that we're dealing with children as children first, around building that kind of pro-social identity, working to young people's strengths, because it's difficult being a young person in this day and age. I think when people see a crowd of young people, they often feel threatened. So it's about dispelling that myth and providing our children and people with the skills and the personal attributes so that they can navigate that life journey really. So we're doing that. We're also looking at building that identity, and because it's only by building positive identity that we can sustain desistance in terms of not reoffending. So we are collaborating a lot with children. The plans have been shared with children and people in the language that they understand, because we want to encourage active participation, because they need to feel that they belong and that the service belongs to them for it to make a difference really. And we're also trying to work away within partnerships and within the local communities, but diverting away from the stigma around children and people who are at risk of offending or who are or involved in our service, by providing them with a childhood really removed from the criminal justice system. So we have been successful in gaining some serious violence funding to work in partnership with the youth service of both Conwy and Denbighshire, with the creation of a detached youth worker role. And really the role of that worker will be to target some areas within both local authorities where there is maybe a high level of antisocial behaviour or criminal behaviour, and be able to engage with those children and people, build up that relationship with them, and be able to introduce them to positive leisure activities within their own community, with the aim of reducing antisocial behaviour and also reducing offending. And just to assure you, in terms of the review and scrutiny of this plan, we have developed and established an operational management group also, who we're meeting monthly now to look at services so that we're responsive to developments and that we're able to move on, but also identify maybe areas that crop up from some of the work that we're doing to ensure that we have that coordinated corporate response to delivering this positive change.
Thank you, Anstead. Thanks. Thanks. Any other officers to contribute to the report before I open that to debate?
I'm not sure if anybody wants to say anything at this stage, but obviously the recommendations are there for noting. Thank you for giving us a bit more time to present.
Okay,
Diolch yn fawr.
thank you for that, Jenny. Any members wants to come in? Councillor Paul? Can we take the presentation down and so see if anybody on the Zoom wants to contribute? Sorry, Councillor Paul, go ahead.
It doesn't come as a surprise, I suspect, to any councillor in this room that the recommendation from this inspection requires improvement. I hope, Chair, you'll allow us to drill down on some of the detail of this, and I've got a range of specific questions I'd like to ask. But in a sense, I'm disappointed because since I was elected a councillor, I've probably been banging on about youth justice and the heightened risks to children locally, both with the leader, Charlie. Liz will know my endless correspondence about it. Jenny will have seen it. Sian, the community safety manager, because it is deeply, deeply worrying. And I'm not saying my area's worse than some other areas in Conway, but some of the issues that I've had to deal with locally are deeply distressing. And again, from a child's first point of view, I would say the lack of service, the lack of engagement and attachment to some of these youngsters at very high risk. And that isn't saying that there are not good people out there doing good work every day, and some people are engaged and attached with these young people. So I suppose the first question, and I've got a series here, but the first question I'd like to ask is, and I know Jenny's given her presentation, but how did we politically and professionally allow this to happen? That's what I want to know. How did we allow it to get to the state it's in today? And I'd like to ask that to be answered both politically and professionally.
Thanks, Councillor Paul. And yeah, I wouldn't expect any less challenge. I think in terms of some of the areas that were really lacking within the inspection, absolutely, I take responsibility as chair of that board that there should have been more robust demands made on organisations and the ability to get that input. I don't see that as the team's responsibility. I think, as I set out earlier, the board has a very clear role in statute, and that membership is there. I think over time, as I say, not having robust membership, and that then has had the impact it's had, I think, in terms of certainly certain areas of the partnership working. I think in terms of outcomes for children, it was really interesting because we did have the thematic inspection a couple of years ago, and the core work of the team was considered separately, and that was considered to be really good. So whilst overall it's not good news, I certainly, as you know, I always strive to be the best within our services. This isn't where we want to be at all. But I don't think, as I say, I'm prepared to take that responsibility as board chair, but I don't think that the team themselves have allowed this to happen, if I can respond to your direct question. But I certainly take responsibility for that wider strategic governance and not driving that with the rigour it needed, for sure.
Chair, I was asking the political question as well. Thank you for that, Jenny. I would have had no doubt that Jenny would take full responsibility for it. I have deep respect for Jenny and the work she does.
If you want to, Lydia, want to come in on that?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Paul. I mean, as leader, I can only get involved in things when I know there's an issue, when it's evidence there's an issue, and it's why we have audits, why we have investigations. Once we're aware of something, then you can take the appropriate action. I have every confidence in the plan that's been outlined here. It recognises where there are failings, and it'll take steps moving forward. So I don't. Maybe it's a failure of the system, but if you're not aware of a problem, then you can't deal with that problem. We have been made aware, and I'm confident that it will be dealt with. That probably doesn't answer your question fully, but that's the reality of the situation that we're in, essentially.
Thank you, Charlie. Can I bring Councillor Lacey? It's a portfolio holder.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Paul. I joined the board in latter end of 2022, and I realised that there were difficulties. But all I can say today, that board is really functioning, and I am confident that we will get to where we want to get to, and what Jenny and the team's aim is to be the best. And that is what now we will be endeavouring to do. And I've got every faith in the board and the service manager and Jenny and our partners that we will achieve that objective. It wasn't where we wanted to be, but this is where we are, and we now have to move on.
But Chair, if I can come back on that and ask another specific question. I have raised, because it's raised with me, and I'm sure I'm not the only ward councillor here, you know, almost daily, the antisocial and criminal behaviour by children on the streets and elsewhere. It's a major concern. So I don't accept that politically we're not aware of it, because I was aware of it, and I'm aware that those children who were offending or at risk of offending were not getting the sort of service which was reasonable for them to receive, and also the families that they come from. I was writing and speaking, and my next question refers to the next big question. Why was the policy, and it was a determined policy, not to allow either the public or myself as a councillor to have direct contact with the Youth Justice Service? I tried by all different routes to speak to the Youth Justice Service, to raise my local concerns. And both politically and professionally, there was enormous pushback. And to this day, two and a bit years in, I don't think that I've spoken directly in my area to the professionals. And I think that's highlighted with the issue about partnerships and services inadequate, because it's obvious to anybody locally the services are not joined up, not effectively working together, and therefore there is a real heightened risk for these children in our community. So why is the policy this determined resistance to speak to me, to speak to the public, to speak to other councillors?
Thank you for your question. I have met with you on one occasion, and I did provide you with information. And I think the issue is about managing expectations, isn't it, really? Every local area has their issues on antisocial behaviour, and antisocial behaviour is not just the responsibility of one single agency, it's a corporate responsibility. I think when we provided you with the update, we provided you with the data that we held in around your local area, which, after consultation with the Community Safety Partnership, with police, with all the agencies who are delivering service there, including the schools, it didn't correlate to maybe your perception of the issue. We have to make sure we have limited funds, and we have to target areas where we can make the best effect. I'm not minimizing what the risks are, but we have a clear strategy, and we have to look at the need of that particular area. We did that in the case of your area, and we provided information to our lead cabinet member around those. We've done a comprehensive piece of work on the cohort characteristics of the children and people who come to our service. We know that we're working in difficult circumstances, and we haven't an unlimited pot of resource and funding. So we have to make difficult decisions around where we target, and that is around the need. I am disappointed that you feel that way, but in terms of response, I felt that I had provided you with that information for you to be able to make an informed decision based on the information we had to share with you at that time.
I do make an informed decision.
Can you put your micro on?
I do make an informed decision, and that's why I pursue it regularly. And let's focus. If you walked around my area, and other ward councillors will tell you the same, I see, if you spent 2 or 3 hours on the streets in my area, you would observe children trading drugs, substances, vapes, on bikes, going to different houses. We had 2 11-year-old girls in our area use ketamine, ended up in A&E. If you talk to young people on the streets, like I do, they will tell you ketamine, in a minority of them, is used quite regularly in my area. That is the reality. Now, my issue is, and when I talk to young people, I say, who's engaged with you? I don't mind whether it's a youth worker, a social worker, a teacher, a youth justice worker, a police officer. And what my reality is, which is different to yours, I think, most of them say, oh, we're not involved with anybody. We're not engaged with anybody. We're not attached to anybody. And these are people, when people say these people, you can talk to them. They're not actually that abusive, even when they're doing activity which is inappropriate. The antisocial behaviour in our area with vandalism is from breaking mirrors off cars, scratching cars, damage to the public spaces. We've had trees broken. We've had all the area around the lake smashed up. We've all our public toilets are out of use. They were vandalised. One was vandalised by school children after school. The extent of the issues, and I am not persuaded, and I'm still not persuaded, that we are engaging and attaching ourselves as professional workers to these youngsters and doing the necessary work.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Just so that we don't, any other colleagues don't repeat that, I'll share some of our experience from Colwyn Bay. Second largest town in North Wales, have second largest issues, very similar to what you say. Through town council, we do have regular meeting with the neighborhood police inspectors comes to our council, update us. It's not fair, you just putting all the, I know in past we used to have multi-agency groups, used to meet regularly. I'm going back as far as Mr. Bromstone's time when he was the chief inspector. And he used to come and visit the wards. Tesnia Hadwin, I know her from, I have a business in Colwyn High. She used to go looking for children to take them to the friendship clubs. If you appreciate that, over the years, lack of funding is the issue of that way. There's a will, there's a way. I don't want you to keep hammering our officers, but I think there's a multi-agency issues here that you need to take with your neighborhood police.
And I do persistently, as anybody would tell you.
Not just them, but you know, we've got Denbighshire partnership here, Conway partnership here. Hopefully, those children are not falling between the two stools. Hopefully, you are picking them up and working together. But if you have any other issues, I would ask you to email Anstey. She has given explain, but I, like yourself, I do have a concern as well on that, but I will come later. I got Councillor Kay, she wants to come in, and then I'll come later.
Thank you, Chair. It's in response to Paul, really. I think maybe expectations are a little bit high of what information we as elected members can receive. You know, these agencies are doing their jobs with vulnerable people, with young children, and I think maybe you're asking a little bit much of the information that you receive. You know, we get a high level overview. We can work alongside agencies, we can help with reporting and that sort of thing. But in terms of what we get back as elected member, we can't be expected to get every single bit of information. And I work with the local police, I work with the local schools and everything, but I pass the information on. I don't expect to get a full detailed report back because that would be breaking the GDPR. They're there to do their job, aren't they? And I fully respect that everyone is there to do their job. So I think maybe your expectations are a little bit high of what you're getting back, Paul, to be honest.
Thank you, Councillor Kay. Any other Councillor Penn?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, thank you. It's always difficult when we're discussing youngsters and anticipated behaviour, expectations. Councillor Paul, all of us here have got exactly experiences that you've got with youngsters. It takes a community to bring a child up, and that's never a true word said. Engage with town council, engage with activities, engage with our youth clubs. church groups run a lot of after school activities that aren't church as such labelled. There is a general difficulty with youngsters at the moment because social media is creating so many problems for them. And I don't think it's fair to have officers here and to be berating them, saying, I don't think you're doing this, I don't think you're doing that, for the volume of work these individuals are seeing and the outcomes they are getting, I think is very, very unfair. I take Councillor Kay's point. We can't have the ins and outs of what's going on. All these individuals are professional and they take the professional approach. Multi-agency is the way to go for us all. The police are always accessed. You can always talk to the police to what's going on. Ketamine is an issue, Paul, for all of us across our communities. I certainly know at Llanfachan it is. I've had young people knock on the door to say, please, can you do something about it? And the police are aware of that. So, and I was at that meeting. I know, Councillor Paul, you couldn't attend. It took a lot of time to get all the various professionals on board. And your concerns had been raised via email, and there was actually nothing to answer. It had all been resolved. So I think we have to be really careful when we're talking here. Our professionals are doing what they can. The report doesn't make great reading. We have Jenny, director, who has admitted that, and we have professionals, partnership working. This situation is going to improve. And we, as corporate parents, there are 45 of us, all have responsibility for what goes on the ground. Thank you for letting me speak, Chair.
Austin, please. There. I think if members might need to put the headphone.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd. Ac eich gyntang llongyfarch chi ar cael eich ailethol yn is-gadeirydd ac ei llongyfarch cynghorydd Simon a mi cael ei ethol yn gadeirydd y Pwyllgor hwn. Dydy'r adroddiad ddim yn y darlleniad gorau dwi erioed wedi gael, ond mae gynnon ni gyfarwyddwr strategol sydd wedi cymryd cyfrifoldeb, sydd wedi dal i dwylo i fyny. A mae'n ddigon hawdd i rhai ohono ni fel cynghorwydd bwyntio bys ar gwasanaethau ac yn y blaen. Mae yna un lle nad ydy cynghorydd Paul ddim wedi pwyntio bys, a hynny ydy rhieni. Mae yna gyfrifoldeb ar rieni i ddod â'i plant i fyny yn y ffordd iawn. Ac yn anfffortunus, dyn ni'n byw mewn cymdeithas lle mae nifer o bobl difreintiedig yn cael ei anghofio. Nid gan yr awdurdodau lleol, ond gen y llywodraethau lawr ym Caerdydd ac yn San Steffan, diffyg arian, diffyg adnodda. Mae genna i ferch yng Nghyfrath sy'n gweithio mewn ysgol uwchradd a mae hi'n digaloni pan mae'n clywed plant yn dod ati a pan mae hi'n trio annog y plant hynny i wneud yn dda yn ei aroliadau mwyn cael cymwystera i gael swyddi da. A'r ateb mae'n gael yn dol ydy, I don't care, miss. I'll get a house off the council, I'll get the dole, and I'm happy with that. Mae rhaid i ni, a dwi'n deall rwystredigaeth y cynghorydd Paul, a dwi'n sylweddoli bod yna broblemau ym mhob man, a mae yna broblemau yng Ngwlad hefyd. Yn y gymuned dwi'n byw ohoni, yn Eglwys Bach, yn ddiweddar iawn, dyn ni wedi cael lot o blant yn anystywallt ac yn cambyhafio ac yn scratcho ceir ac yn y blaen. A mae'r heddlu wedi bod i'w gweld i'w rhieni nhw, a mae rhain yn blant sydd yn dod o deuluoedd reit barchus, a dyna di'r broblem, a mae cyffuria yn broblem mawr. Felly dwi'n meddwl bod ni'n iawn arna ni fel cynghorwyr pwyntio bys ar asiantaethau sydd yn ceisio gwneud y gorau fedra nhw. Dwi yn siomedig a fod beth dwi wedi ddarllen, ond dwi hefyd yn galonogol bod gynnon ni bobl yn y pen acw sydd yn barod i torchi llewis a gwneud rhywbeth i ddatrys y broblem. A dyna sy'n rhaid ni'n neud. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr i chi. Right, any other speakers, please? Our chief executive want to come in.
Diolch yn fawr.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Abdul. Yes, I just want to reiterate that we are aware, you know, around the inspection, it was a very difficult inspection, and it's come on the back of a very challenging time. But I don't think anybody should doubt the dedication and the professionalism of the officers who are present here today. Fran, Donna, Annes, thank you so much for what you do. You know, we had a tough inspection, but actually what the inspection shows was the praise for the team is unequivocal. So I'd like to put that on record, really, that the appreciation from myself, and I know Jenny has already said the same. So I want to make that clear. But also, the action plan that's before you has been in motion since the inspection, and actually before the inspection there were things that we'd already noted that we wanted to do, and the follow-up meeting we had with the chief inspector was very positive around that. So I'd like members to have that assurance as well. We will also be following up the various aspects of the action plan in relation to our partners, because as already been discussed here today, we can only succeed by working in partnership, and there's a requirement for us to get that to work. So we will be following up, and I will personally be following some of that up as well. So I just want to make that clear that I want to express my thanks to the team, to Jenny, to Steph, and to all who've been involved in this. It's difficult reading, but actually the action plan provides us a pathway, I think, through to the other side on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Just coming back to Jenny, probably to answer. Yeah, you have. I'm not going to go over it because everyone else has spoken. We have 2 inadequate in the report, and we've got several requires improvement. On the 2 inadequate, how confident are you that will be sorted soon?
Yeah, thank you, Cadeirydd. I think it's within, the improvement plan. And obviously that was specifically around some of that partnership interface. But I would, there are other partners here if you wish to direct some of your questions of assurance.
Whoever the relevant officer to answer this would be really appreciated.
Nawn da pawb, I'm Nicola Stubbins, Corporate Director from Denbighshire County Council. I'd firstly like to start by thanking Jenny. Denbighshire recognises this is a joint service, but we'd also recognise but thank Conwy for being the host. That being said, whilst Conwy is the host, we don't then in any way underestimate the responsibilities that we have. This is a joint service. And I think it's fair to say we've been with the team through this journey, but Jenny has shown particular leadership, as has Anest. I'd like to point out, I think the context of the society that we live in has changed. I've been a director here in North Wales for 10 years, and things have changed during that time, really for the worst, despite the efforts of the teams. So we have to recognise that we work in an increasingly challenging environment, but the teams, the staff continue to do their utmost. But it is challenging and it will continue to be. I'd just like to add on what Reen said when we did meet with the inspectors. They said they actually thought the journey we were taking was the right journey, that there were no surprises for us in anything that they told us. So I just wanted to add that bit to what's been said. Diolch.
Thank you, Nicola. Thank you for your contribution. Like I said, there's a lot in terms of working in partnership. I don't know why I'm a bit naive. I'm asking the question: why isn't the police involved? Ideally, they could have been invited here and heard the the councillors?
Yeah,
Are they lacking? Sorry, go on, Jane.
no, it's a good question. The police are a really strong part of the team.
Yes.
So they were considered to be offering a really good service. We have seconded officers within the team, and if we needed, you know, at a future committee to invite our colleagues, I'm sure they would attend. Obviously, Nicola's joined me today as the services across the two councils, and Alison's always very supportive in attending, and that obviously there were specific recommendations for health. But in terms of the police, I think overall that their contributions are really, you know, their efforts are strong.
That's good to hear. But if you know, I'm only suggesting that they should come along with the meeting. I mean, like I said to Paul, and without going personal, I have had issues where I had to get commissioner's office involved for inspector to come and visit the town council and so forth. But if that needs, then must. We're not here to be popular. We're here to serve the community. So, you know, if I have to go up, then I have done.
Yeah, I think it's also to make sure that, you know, we're citing the community safety arrangements and the police and crime panel. I think we're not working within a vacuum, are we? So there are wider responsibilities in the community. The cohort of children is relatively small that we're talking about here in respect of specific youth justice duties, and the preventative work and support from the police is really helpful. But yeah, this isn't just the conversation around youth justice. We do have that interface with the police at different settings as well.
Can I just say that I think I allowed a lot more because it was very important. So we have allowed a lot more time to this. I'd be appreciated if any members wants to make a recommendation. I mean, recommendation is there on page 162, 2.1 and 2.2. I'll read that out to you. 2.1, that the Social Care and Health Overview Scrutiny Committee scrutinized the proposal, having regard to the recommendation in paragraph 2.2, make recommendation to Cabinet. So the 2.2 is subject to consideration of overview and scrutiny comments recommendation that we propose that we recommend it to Cabinet. Councillor Austin.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd. Dwi wedi cael bodlon I fynd gyda'r argymhellion yn yr adroddiad a cynnig bod ni'n yn mynd gyda'r argymhellion sydd yn cael ei gynnig. Diolch yn fawr.
And a seconder, please. Oh, we've got quite a few. I saw Kate hand first, so we'll go with Kate. So can we have a show of hand, please? Yeah, those against? No, no. Thank you. Thank you to Nicola, Alison, and everyone else who's been here. You're welcome to stay if you want. I'm sure you got pressing. Thank you for attendance.
Chair, can we say thank you to our visitors?
I did this. I already done it. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
So invite them to stay behind if they wanted to. All right. So if we go back to our agenda now, page 57. think that's, again, Councillor Lee's gone. Is she introducing this?
Chair, I think I could attempt to do this one.
Go on,
I was
Councillor
down,
Finney, go for
actually.
it.
Thank you.
Right.
So just a brief overview, members. So the purpose of this report is to provide an outline of the contents of the Director of Social Services Annual Report 2023 to 2024. The emphasis of this report is areas of new development and revisits areas that were further extended that needed to be attended to. Under the Wellbeing Act 2014, there is a statutory obligation to publish an annual report, and this report goes to our committees and also goes further down to the Senedd. The guidance for this report has been amended by Welsh Government for 2023 to 24, so it's a slightly different flavour than the previous reports. I'll hand over to Jenny, Director of Social Services, to give an introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenny.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Me again, I'm afraid. So yes, I've lost count now, but this is a further annual report in respect of the work of the social care department and the whole range of services that we deliver. It's called in statutory terms the director's report, but it's certainly not mine alone at all. It is a real collaborative team effort to prepare this, and again this year it's slightly different in terms of format. There have been some changes to the legislation requiring more of a focus on continual improvement, so you'll see reference to that throughout the report. So this year we're setting out, or looking back I should say, we're setting out our improvement journey. Sorry, I have got a few slides and I'll be handing over to Chris, doing a double act again. So setting out our improvement journey for providing information, advice and assistance and care and support. And I don't need to rehearse at this committee. You're obviously well versed with the early intervention and preventative teams and support that we have a duty to provide under the Social Services and Wellbeing Act, which came into force in 2014. Throughout the report as well, we'll be demonstrating how we have promoted wellbeing and accounted for the delivery of quality standards. We evidence progress against those standards, which are statutory, and as I say, they focus on people, prevention, partnerships and integration, and most importantly, wellbeing. We also evidence how we're meeting the needs of people receiving care and support and improving wellbeing outcomes overall. So these are the care and support needs for those who need that bit more help in terms of maintaining their independence across all ages, right through to the more complex statutory high-end provision, as we call it, in terms of social care delivery. It's also a report that enables Welsh Government to collate and analyse and understand the evidence and delivery of care and support across Wales. So this is generally used to benchmark, and Welsh Government will share some of their thinking once they've received the report. So as I said, it's a new approach. It's a bit of a different style. And it will be focused on improvement and also embedded in terms of performance. It's integral to our social services planning arrangements, scrutiny and improvements in relation to a whole range of indicators that we have to advise Welsh Government of. It's also a process that should be embedded in rigorous self-assessment of performance, and hence bringing it to you so you can also support and help us with our self-assessment from your perspective. Clearly, we do have a service performance review, and that is coming up next week, which is also part of the way we self-assess. We dot throughout the report. As you can see, it's full of areas of achievement, but also areas of improvement. We've really tried to focus this year on each section, having an area where we want to either improve or do something differently. And we take an action planning approach to achieve that improvement. We have a lot of sort of focus on this report informing the way that we deliver services, and we do have a small number, but they're really helpful to us, of project managers who will support us with areas of innovation and transformation. So in terms of the layout, we'll take you through areas around leadership. So there is a real focus on the political leadership, as we've touched on earlier, governance, scrutiny and challenge. A big part of my role is ensuring that we have a suitable and sufficient workforce, which is really challenging. I'll be bringing a workforce report to you later in the year. We touch on financial resources. Obviously, we've had a range of budget reductions over this last year, as we do with every year, and how that has impacted. We touch on performance specifically around the 8 quality standards. We'll touch on inspection and review. Obviously, we've just had a significant inspection presented to you today. Complaints and representations, and I think has that report been? Has the complaints report been before you? It's going to audit, so that's a new style. The social care complaints will now form part of the joined up approach with the corporate complaints report. So that will come to audit, and then obviously other sources of information are referenced to inform the detail. So Chris Phillips is our one of our managers within business support, that has been really helpfully pulling this together and coordinating it. So Chris is just going to take you through a few slides, just focusing on some of that area that I've touched on, and then we'll open up for questions. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so within this new layout, there are essentially 4 main themes, which sort of underpin sort of what Jenny's just described. So those are people, prevention, partnership and integration, and well-being. So I'm going to go through each of those and just talk a bit about each bullet point that we have that you'll see on the screen. But I'm going to go into it in a little bit more detail, just to sort of give you a flavour of the level of performance and what we've achieved over the last 12 months. It'll be underpinned by sort of how we improve and action that we've taken. So the general theme will be very similar across the 4 slides. So you'll often hear me speak about how we improve and the action that we're taking, sort of in relation to those bullet points that are outlined in the presentation. So in terms of people, this is essentially about people being equal partners who have a voice, choice and control over their lives and are able to achieve what matters to them. And about effective leadership being evident at all levels, with a highly skilled, well-qualified and supported workforce working towards a shared vision. As part of that, we've been increasing our autism and neurodivergence offer. So in last year's report, we told you that we would be recruiting across Denway and Denbighshire an autism lead officer. That post is now filled, and the focus has been on developing and coordinating the autistic spectrum condition code of practice implementation plans and improving publicly available information around autism by the creation of a dedicated web page. That's been done in collaboration with autistic people in line with the code of practice. And we've been developing autism-specific projects and activities in the local area, including re-establishing a process for funding. In addition, we've commissioned sensory processing training, including the autism reality experience and sensory integration training, which is aimed at occupational therapists, and over 150 have benefited from the autism reality experience during that period, including staff from Conway Teams and Conway Mind, and parents with links to the 5 family centres. So that's what we've been focusing on. So how can we improve moving forward on that? So we're going to continue to drive forward improvements and developments to raise awareness and understanding of autism and neurodivergence in Conway, and we'll consider making the training modules mandatory as they are in the local authorities, and address the gaps in skills and knowledge as a result of increasing complexities around neurodivergent individuals. Moving on to the restructuring of the youth justice, you've heard already earlier from a report from Anest and from Jenny. So last year we told you that we'd be reviewing the staffing structure within Conway and Denbighshire Youth Justice Service in order to deliver an improved service and ensure compliance with statutory guidance and best practice principles. So we've commenced that review. That was at the time of writing on the restructure of staffing roles and responsibilities that will result in adequate resource for professional oversight, advice, support and guidance. And how we're going to improve moving forward is the temporary staffing arrangements have been in place now for nearly 2 years, and in line with feedback from the recent Youth Justice Service report inspection, whilst also taking into account sort of colleague wellbeing, recruitment and retention, there was an urgent need for permanent management structure to increase capacity. So as well as supporting an improved service and implementing the new structure, this will increase the capacity to deliver on key organisational and partnership priorities against the improvements highlighted by the inspection. So by implementing the new and improved management structure and introducing an information management role to the service, will create sort of more understanding and awareness, supporting the management board and staff with the development of more effective and simple processes. So phase one of the restructure has commenced at the time of writing, and the Youth Justice Board agreed that the management restructure program at the meeting in April. And once the phase one has concluded, the managers will be in post, and phase two will involve aligning and reviewing those roles with current staff to facilitate the creation of lead roles. So moving on to vulnerable people, meeting the accommodation needs, the VP service has set out its accommodation strategy to meet the needs of service users. And to quote the vision, is for everyone to have a forever home. That's his stable and secure base from which other issues can be addressed. This will be enabled through provision of a wraparound support that is person-centred and needs-led with an effectively coordinated multi-professional agency approach, delivering a coherent support plan co-produced with the individual. So in order to achieve this, we need to repurpose the project houses that are already available and which are shared properties that no longer meet the requirements of the service. So in terms of the improvement in the action plan, we need to increase collaborative working with local registered social landlords and some of the care home providers to develop a new model of move on accommodation. So we need it to provide sort of safe, secure, affordable environments that service users require in order to build independent lives. So the action plan will be to continue working with housing support grant review processes and develop and share the commissioning attention with registered social landlords to find collaborative and innovative solutions to resolve the issues. In terms of engagement with care leavers, so last year we talked about introducing a new practice model for engaging with care experienced young people and nominating individuals to take part in research. So since the research started, we've involved 20 young people across North Wales, 8 from within Conway, and we've held focus and steering groups meetings for both young people and professionals who work with them. And within the county, we've so far recorded 2 podcasts which are available on Spotify, and the first featured care leavers discussing the experience of engagement and any barriers they've encountered, and the second was focusing on the feedback on the research. So how are we going to improve on that? So all young people essentially involved in the research projects have been given the opportunity to discuss what they need and how they feel and the journey through the services that they're experiencing and the things that haven't worked for them well. So this will be then used to sort of to assist the local authority develop services that are sort of meaningful for those young people, and work with them sort of and engage proactively to develop a legacy of the resources approach to enhance the way that care leavers are engaged in the services they receive. It's a 2-year project, so it's a bit early at the moment to identify sort of significant improvements at this stage. However, we can be sure that the young people are given a voice and are being heard. And from some research that we have done, 98.5% of the children that have pathway plans as required, that's in place, and 97.04% is the percentage of children that have been allocated a personal advisor. So the stats are the two particularly high statistics. In terms of engagement with staff and stakeholders, so twice a year we ask for feedback from older people and disability, domiciliary and residential care services for feedback about their experiences in the workforce, the support they receive to undertake their roles. And all staff generally feel from across the teams feel that they, as a team, that they're listened to as individuals, that they support and ensure that they're able to make choices about their lives. As individuals, domiciliary care staff clearly understand the importance of placing the person at the centre of care planning and supporting their health and well-being and respecting their views and wishes. And there's a sort of several points really. They're quoted directly from that survey: being person-centred, listening to what they want, and doing our best to carry out their wishes. Somebody else sort of quoted as saying, "I listen to my clients' concerns, raising them with management or families if necessary, and encourage them to have a say in how they would like their care conducted." And another good bit of feedback was listening to and acting on what individuals say to us. We support them with health appointments, encourage healthy lifestyles, and promote independence so they have control over their lives. So twice a year, the stakeholders are asked to engage or asked about their views on in-house domiciliary services and our residential homes, Lleselian, and we ask about the quality of service and the timeliness in dealing with queries. So, for example, the effective partnership working. So with regard to frontline services, 100% of respondents agreed that staff listen to the individuals they support, enabling them to make choices about the care they support and receive and the opportunities available to them. A comment from one respondent was, "It's a lovely care home, and other care homes could use Lleselian as an example of how to create a caring, kind and effective working environment that is respected as the home of the people they care for, with residents showing genuine kindness, high standards of care and quality of life and enjoyment in later years as the focus." So just moving on then to the second theme around prevention. So this is about the need for care and support being minimised, and the escalation of need is prevented whilst ensuring the best possible outcomes for people are achieved, and resilience within our communities is promoted, and people are supported to fulfil their potential by actively encouraging and supporting people who need care and support, including carers, to learn, develop and participate in society. So just considering the development of our Connected Persons team, in Conway, we are actively developing the Connected Persons team to ensure that we maximise opportunities to keep families together wherever possible. And we have seen an ongoing rise in the number of Connected Persons assessments, and between the 3 assessors in post, we've had 16 underway as of January 2024, during the time that we were writing this report. In 2023, saw the launch of the public law outline process, meaning that Connected Persons are expected to be approached and assessed at an earlier stage, and the training programme devised last year will need to be updated to reflect those changes in processes and the plans for 2024 to develop and roll it out further. We've been proactive in working with the Bont, who run the family group conferences, to encourage our team's presence at meetings, to have early discussions about Connected Persons, foster care and special guardianship options, which ensures that families benefit from our in-house expertise and have an understanding of the Connected Persons role from an early stage, and are able to discuss the assessment process and what becoming an alternative carer or offering support to families will entail. So in terms of how we're going to move forward and the action plan, so this year we'll ensure that the Connected Persons process are prioritised and that the family members are identified early to promote family placements and permanency for children. Ultimately, doing this will increase the chances of care proceedings, including with private orders or family members being supported to access a private order, which will then reduce the numbers of children in care. The action plan is around Connected Persons training will commence, utilising the information and experiences from the public law outline relaunch, with aims of promoting family membership for children, increasing stability for children in the local familiar caring environments, and reducing the children looked after population. So what we're looking for here, what we're aiming to do, is we want Connected Persons workers to continue to link up with family centres, increasing awareness of the Connected Persons for families, receiving early intervention and support, and we want children to have more access to support services away from the child in need or child protection routes, and instead be supported by assessments and special guardianship orders and universal services. The Brollingham facility, the disability respite facility, so that opened to service users on the 4th of December in 2023, offering respite to people with disabilities and their families. The staff team, they've now settled into their new roles and familiarised themselves with the site, and the service users who have accessed the service, they seem to be happy and have settled throughout their stay. So during the early months, we're noting areas for improvement at the facility, and service users have fed back to us that they like things like the transport to take them to activities. So we've increased the sort of things like car hire and minibus facilities to transport them. There are some difficulties with the phone signal at Bronland, so we're working with IT to come up with alternative solutions to improve that. In terms of the action plan moving forward, the team have worked with service users to create a guide to Bronland covering topics such as our values, where Bronland is located, the type of accommodation available, and an introduction to the team and the services that we deliver. And residents are also informed about the activities and places of interest within the area, with a view to supporting individuals during their stay. In terms of family support and intervention services, so during the reporting year, we've continued to face challenges within the service, particularly with regard to sort of recruitment of qualified social workers. But despite these challenges, we have been able to allocate the cases, and social workers are working extremely hard with some very difficult and complex work. And increasingly, we're seeing those cases sort of being managed sort of in child protection and public law outline, or the children looked after areas. The service underwent inspection at the start of the reporting period, with a number of positives reported by CIW, and for those areas which require some improvement, an action plan has been put in place, and most of those have now been achieved. The PLO inspection identified good practice within the area, finding that records clearly records that were identified, sort of showing concerns and safety and the well-being of children and young people has been prioritised. And while there's still some areas to be worked on, it's important to note that all staff have worked very hard to achieve the outcomes through the use of the PLO process. We've embedded the accommodation pathway for children at risk of coming into care, and those in care who are at risk of disruption. Cases have the oversight of accommodation panel and the benefits from edge of care prevention and intervention support. This is now working well, and all staff are aware of the process. The MASH is well established and operating as business as usual. The hub has strengthened multi-agency working, particularly with North Wales Police, in safeguarding vulnerable children and adults in Conway, and work is ongoing with health and education colleagues to ensure their buy-in to the processes and the daily discussions. Okay.
Sorry, it's my fault.
Oh,
We took it.
Okay. So just so continuing on with prevention, the Conway single point of access. So both teams have managed by the information advice and assistance team manager, and for the last year, and this time has given the opportunity to observe how the teams work and how they'll be best supported in the future. So mini restructure will improve resilience and enhance the service delivery for both teams. That's currently ongoing through an approval process. So this will bring forward the sort of main benefits of essentially an overarching manager dedicated to improvements, dedicated supervisory functions, and support for both teams, and improve resilience across during times of planned and unplanned leave. In terms of how we're going to improve there, so the improvements needed will be based on feedback received, which includes staff benefiting from the review of the processes, and we'll continue to collect routine feedback from processes to ensure citizens, providers and other stakeholders are able to inform the continuous improvement process. The development and provision of high quality accommodation for children and young people by transforming local residents and in-house placements. So the transformation of the Children's Residential Services Programme has been instigated to respond to Conway's placement strategy for 22 to 2027. And this year's dedicated transformation programme lead has been recruited, and the lead transformation delivery group in developing a 10-year outline plan to secure 18 beds for children looked after. So the delivery group has prioritised a home for one young person living alone with support, and created a specification for the home that meets CIW criteria for children's homes, and a registered social landlord has been appointed to work with in partnership with us. Discussions for that began in January 2024, and to plan and cost the project. In terms of the Buzzard Adult Assessment Centre, so the council working with Denbighshire and BCU, the assessment centre will provide temporary accommodation for young people with the primary aim of being reunified with their families, and the centre will provide 2 units for emergency placements. The residential and admin staff are all in post, and it's fully operational. The Avon home will provide long-term accommodation for up to 4 children, and the funding has been secured and contractors were scheduled to start on site back in January, and there's a 52-week construction timeline in place, and work is progressing to finalise the staffing structure. In terms of Silver Gardens, it's a residential home that will provide 3 2-bedroom apartments for 3 children with learning disabilities. And our partner and registered landlord, First Choice Housing, has secured funding for the property based on pre-tendered estimates. So the action plan moving forward and the next steps will be to consult with independent providers to discuss the business models and support them with any plans, and develop a recruitment for onboarding and training plan to ensure prompt and effective recruitment. So in terms of partnership and integration, so we work closely with the dom care providers to change the way we commission and develop services, and we're promoting a more coordinated and outcome-based approach, focusing on what people can do rather than what they want. And this gives providers an opportunity to tailor their services around individuals and the support that they're providing, taken on view for their views and preferences. So we're actively taking steps to implement a co-production approach to the way we commission our services, enabling people and families to work with us as partners. And as part of the children's accommodation development, we're currently engaging with children and young people and involving the Loud Voices group to take on board their views. The employment pathways for people with learning disabilities. So this year, Conway and Denbighshire, in partnership with North Wales Together, have launched a new pathway for individuals with learning disability and are open to social services. So those supported employment pathways offer people intensive job coaching and support in order to help them find paid employment. And Conway will be adapting the way that day services are currently offered to individuals. So the goal is that people from now on will attend day services on a short-term basis, leaving after a set period of time. So in terms of how we're going to improve, so vocational profiling is a tool that is used in supported employment to get as much information on individual supported and how to best get a job match for them and match with their employers. Our success rate when approaching employers, that does need to improve, and we believe that the right approach will generate more interest working with employers. There are some elements of the vocational profile that have been added and removed already, and this will continue. And if we find certain types of information that don't seem to be relevant, they'll be removed too, and we can talk to employers about the sort of information that they want to see from us. So improving our foster care offer. So in order to improve Conway's offer to foster carers, we'll increase the allowance they receive, as well as the amount for the second and third child, and we're reintroducing reimbursements to foster carers to cover the first sort of 50 miles that they travel. The retention of existing foster carers continues to be a strength of the service, and is demonstrated by the stability of the foster families. And the foster carers, they attend bi-monthly meetings, coffee mornings, etc., with the opportunity to gain peer support and work with the foster care team. So over the next year, we'll focus on developing the social media presence and analyse the activity it generates. We want to liaise with local businesses and promote and enhance the payment model and foster-friendly employment status. As part of the Foster Wales, we'll ideally develop a more regionalised recruitment campaign with other local authorities. In terms of participation and engagement and the dementia listening campaign, North Wales Regional Collaborative asked us if we would contribute to the ongoing work of the dementia listening campaign by undertaking community engagement exercise with the aim of gaining residents' views. A steering group was formed, and Llanfyddwchan was nominated for the event, and the engagement work was fully supported by Conway Libraries, in particular Llanfyddwchan, Town Council, the Conway Community Wellbeing Service and Older People's Service, and councillors Penny and Mandy Hawkins for their contribution too. In terms of the action plan, once we've received the analysis from the report from North Wales Regional Collaborative, we'll be able to study the results and identify the improvements. In terms of well-being, so where people are protected and safeguarded from abuse and neglect and any other types of harm, and people are supported to actively manage their well-being and make their own informed decisions so they're able to adhere to full potential and live independently for as long as possible. So in November 2023, during the safeguarding fortnight, that was in November, we held a number of events where we discussed topics such as things like parental cannabis misuse, the increase of dog bites and financial abuse. And other events from the fortnight included sort of art projects with the youth service, staff delivering regional training on modern slavery. We had 2 sessions on criminal exploitation, and participation groups have been held within the safeguarding unit with children and young people. One of the main areas is around tackling knife crime in our communities, which unfortunately seems to be an emerging concern for youth justice. So in response to that, we identified the need to positively engage with young people to address the issue and improve awareness. So the action plan over the next 12 months will be to commission further services for young people to ensure that we enable and provide opportunities to learn new skills associated with the arts, such as cinema, photography, music and special effects, etc. Okay, so that's okay. Yeah, okay, so if we can just move on then to, just conscious we're a little bit short of time, the recommendations. So really this report now is about sort of the recommendation that the Social Care, Health and Overview Scrutiny Committee report for 2023 sort of makes recommendations to Cabinet, subject to consideration of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee's recommendation that the Cabinet report. The Cabinet approved the Director's Social Care's annual report for 23-24 and continues to support the local authorities' improvement journey in providing services to people in the area.
Thanks, Chris. And apologies, I rushed Chris because I know he puts a lot of time into preparing that, and it's it's a really good,
good
overview. But I'm conscious that we took a chunk of the time for the first item, and I'm sure everybody's had a chance to read the report. So we're happy to take questions. Diolch.
Thanks, Jenny, Chris, and Councillor Penny. Any question for them three? Anyone? No. Oh, Councillor Paul. Councillor Paul, go ahead.
I'll restrict myself just to one question. I note we've made progress on the deprivation of liberty safeguards, but we've still got 185 people on the waiting list. I know we did provide some extra funding in the most recent budget, but are we going to make another business case to deal with this backlog? Because I do think this is a absolute priority, because if you've had your liberty deprived, you want to be assessed and authorised or otherwise as quickly as possible.
I don't know if Steph wants to come in on the detail, but yeah, obviously we identified this as a pressure and risk area and had some supports, but we did put that proposal last year that we needed more staffing support. So I know they're getting through it, but I think I'll have to wait to see what my instructions are in terms of budget planning and how we prioritise what we put forward as if anything, as a business case. But Steph, I don't know if you've got anything further.
Just to add, that the post is still out to advert for one of the posts to be filled. So we've got the person that was in secondment. They've come over from on a permanent basis now, but still one person to fill that post. So we're really hoping that with that person in post, we'll be able to get through a lot quicker. But there still is the request was for 4. We had 2 approved. So a bit like what Jenny was suggesting, that without that additional funding for those posts, the team can only work as hard as they can.
Thank you. I'd encourage you to put forward a business case for 2 more posts, because we need to deal with this backlog.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Frank, please, next.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I would like admitted the appreciation that this committee's had for the full reports that the social services officers has given us today. They've spoken without breath for about 90 minutes. You know, it is absolutely fantastic. And I would also like to talk to Chair about the talent of these social services officers, and also the talent that we have in the chamber. And when it comes to disabled people, you know, I read you're going to make them comfortable care and that. Disabled people, they don't really want that. And I don't care how severely disabled they are, because if they've got a brain, they're living. And if they've got a brain, it can be encouraged to do things, or we wouldn't have paraplegic games. You know, I think disabled people need to be, and I've spoken about this before, and been knocked back before when it comes to education, because they can't have the monetary resources to educate them. These people have rights, and we should look into them and see what makes them tick. You know, if you work with disabled people, you walk into a room, you'll get reactions from every child that's there, you know, and I can only commend the work that you do and appreciate it. And I'd love to be involved. I really would. Thank you, Chair. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Councillor Frank. I'm sure your praise is noted by Jane. Follow that, Councillor Penny.
Hard to, that's almost Churchillian there, Frank. Councillor Frank, that is the voice of a very experienced Health and Social Care Committee member. So thank you very much indeed. I'd like to thank all officers and everyone involved in this extremely positive report. The length and breadth of services that Conway deliver are exceptional. Yes, there are lessons to be learnt, and aren't there always lessons to be learnt? I think the nature in which you tackle issues, you tackle problems is refreshing. You look for challenges. You don't sit on your laurels in any sense of the word. And it really is a team effort. And the team effort comes from Jenny to her managers, to everyone involved. And it is a joint effort. All these reports, and Chris has read out, that are a team effort. And if it doesn't come from the bottom, then it doesn't go from the top and vice versa. So thank you very much, everybody. It's extremely hard work that you are doing. It's challenging. It can get very emotional. And you always present the game face. We've got it and we can do it. So thank you very much from everybody involved. Thank you.
Not bad. Councillor Austin.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd. Ga i ddiolch i chi am yr adroddiad. Roedd o'n un cynhwysfawr ac oedd y cyflwyniad yn un hirfaeth. A diolch i chi am y cyflwyniad. Felly ga i gynnig bod ni yn derbyn yr adroddiad ac yn mynd gyda'r argymhellion. Os gwelwch yn dda. Diolch yn fawr.
Okay, I'll come to the second. I think Councillor Liz wanted to come in.
Yes, I think it's very difficult when it's such a vast service to be able to deliver in 10 minutes. One can't do that. And so, you know, there's such a lot of unseen work that goes on. As portfolio leads, we see some of that, but we know you're working diligently every day, so we don't see everything. But I just admire the services that we go and sit in on and see things happening. And I just think that we just take our hat off to the work that goes on. And this is the annual report. So that's why it takes as long as it takes to deliver.
Thank you, Councillor Liz. Councillor Mandy.
Hi, Chair. Happy to second that. And
Brilliant.
thank you to everyone.
So it's been proposed and seconded. Can everybody show in favour, please? All those in the Zoom. Right. Brilliant. It's been carried. Thank you. Thank you, members. Right, last one, but not least. Councillor Penny again.
Thank you very much, Chair. So the last report of the day is to look at the Welsh Government's Children and Communities Grant for 2023 to 24. The aim of this grant is to support the needs of the most vulnerable children and adults in our community. The grant is broken down into delivery of different programme areas, which are listed on 1.5. And before handing over to Mark, I would like to thank all staff involved in ensuring the effective services delivered to those who have regular access to the various provisions providers. We all know how hard this service area works, and we all know individual pockets that we're all individually interested in. Hannah, service manager, kindly invited me to meet her staff on a wellbeing afternoon. And I thought I'd gone to a pub because there was so much laughter coming from that room and so much positivity. There wasn't any alcohol involved. It was amazing. It was a shame, Austin, to see how our frontliners who are facing daily some really difficult emotional pictures of people were so positive, so welcoming, so up. And it was a privilege to be involved, Hannah. And I can't overestimate the amount of work that goes on to make vulnerable people feel they have a place and a voice in this society. And I know you're a bundle of energy when it comes to all of this, so I'll hand over to you. Thank you, Hannah.
Okay.
First, yeah.
So thank you. I won't go through the whole of the report because we're getting quite late in the day now. So I'll have to assume you've all read it. As Councillor Penny said, the purpose of the report is to bring to your attention that the work of this grant and to give opportunity for members of this committee to feedback and to influence the work going forwards. The grant is given to us by the Welsh Government. It says on the first page, the total grant is 5.321 million. 200,000, so £200. So it is a significant grant, and it does fund an awful lot of services. Those services are outlined on the pages that follow. The key elements of this grant is its funding early intervention and prevention. So it can't be used to fund statutory services. I won't go through all the information there then. But you can see on the following pages how extensive the grant is, and the information in this report only scratches the surface of how much we get for this £5 million of Welsh Government funding. And I just put some of the things here. There are 588 children who received funded childcare in that financial year. There's, I think, over 1,000 referrals to the family centres across the county. It's funding health visiting, it's funding all kinds of different services. Just put a note here, there's £220,000 that is commissioned out to third sector organisations, to charities working within our areas, which I think is really positive. We work very closely with a number of different organisations. The one I wanted to flag up was DASU, who provide us with domestic abuse support service, which is our largest third sector contract, and very, very well used and very well received within our communities. We also work internally across Conway Council, so there's about £300,000 of this fund that we commission internally. So services such as our library services, our leisure, Venue Cymru, work in partnership with us to deliver services to people within our communities. And again, you can see more information on that within the report. There is a wonderful table on page 225, which gives you all the finances. So for me, who likes numbers, that's my favourite page. But some people might find that a little bit dry, but it shows you in detail. There's nothing hidden here. It gives you in detail how much funding comes into this grant, exactly where we're spending it all. You can see the detail for 23-24, and you can see the proposals as to where we want to spend that money in 24-25. We haven't just plucked those numbers out the air. There's a lot of work that's gone in to coming up with the proposals to where we want to spend the money in the financial year we're in now. I do need to highlight to you what is in paragraph 3.4.1. We are underspent on this grant, which we are very unhappy about. But the Welsh Government ring-fenced some £638,000 of this grant. So that means it had to be spent on funded childcare, and that funded childcare had to be within the communities of Llandudno Junction or Llanrwst. We tried to get them to change that, and they refused. We've worked really hard to increase the provision of funded childcare within those communities, and I'm disappointed because the underspend doesn't demonstrate the success we've had in getting childcare providers on board, in working with parents and families, and into getting that service set up and delivered. The Welsh Government just didn't give us enough lead-in time to get things established, and we're still working on it. So we were underspent by £320,000, and we have unfortunately had to give that money back to the Welsh Government. They refused to allow us to spend it anywhere else, despite numerous attempts to get them to do so. It's even more frustrating because we are actually overspent on childcare in the county because the take-up has been so great within other parts, but they refused even to allow us to move the money to another community. It had to be spent on those two communities. And then the other area I wanted to pick up on is in that 24-25 plan. Although overall the amount of funding has gone up ever so slightly, I think 2.7%. They gave us an increase, which is below inflation and below staff wage rises and everything else. But in addition to that, we have been instructed that we have to incorporate more work within the grant. So although it looks like a funding increase initially because there's more incorporated in there, it was actually a reduction of about £350,000 on how much we actually had to spend, if that makes sense. So you'll notice if you look at the tables, the finance tables, there are a number of areas where the grant funding has had to be reduced, and there are a few services where we've not been able to fund them in 24-25. So those services mostly haven't stopped. We've been able to identify alternative grant funding, but in many areas those services have had to be reduced, some of them quite significantly. So obviously we are disappointed in that. That concludes my bit. I don't know if you wanted to come in, Hannah, just talk a little bit about the family centres.
Thank you, Mark. Hannah, please.
Hello, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm very mindful that the meeting is expected to finish around about 4:10. And as has been mentioned previously, I get very enthusiastic about the subject. So I'm really what's more important to me is also the fact that you get the opportunity to ask questions about what we're actually doing and what it looks like. What I had intended to be able to do, and I had threatened earlier with Jane from support from committees, that it could take me 2 to 3 hours. That has been vetoed, unfortunately, in this instance. I could maybe do for 7:30, but but yeah. What I was hoping to be able to take you through was some of the sorts of stories that we've had from families, because I'm very conscious that it's been raised several times that my positivity about what we offer is fantastic, but there's a real risk here that we miss some of the complexity of the families and that support and what actually falls into the phenomenally confusing term of early intervention and prevention, because we're seeking to prevent further escalation. We're seeking to intervene as soon as somebody knows. And actually, we were looking at something earlier today where we went, there are some really key points in this individual, this family's life. They didn't know it at the time. We didn't know about those situations at the time because actually they weren't needing to be known to us. That loss, that bereavement, that significant event has had a greater impact as that family's aged together than it was for them at the time because they did not understand the lasting impact. So it's very easy to talk about early intervention and prevention, and it's significantly harder to know when you need to intervene and how to provide that prevention effectively to those families. We receive a wide range of both self-referral, and that is to say that one parent has spoken to somebody else who has received some support from us and they have heard that we were okay, we were useful. They've presented to us perhaps from a rural community with a concern about their child who they've got health visitor involvement with, but something's just not quite right. Their child's not speaking, they're 2.5, they're not mobile enough, they're anxious. They're worried about what it might mean for their child. So we put on courses for which we have received some really positive feedback around grief and loss and diagnosis, where we were able to support and help families to understand what that means. We're able to, we've recently provided level in Makaton and Gymraeg, which was a significant offer within the Llanrwst community. And to be clear, that's about both learning the Makaton signs, but learning the order within the Welsh language, because within your community, you need to be able to order your words effectively to make it clear. And if we teach you in English, but you're a Welsh speaking family and you put your hen in the wrong place, it will cause confusion. So let's get it right for you. The feedback from families, that wider impact of that group is phenomenal, that they suddenly feel they're able to encourage and embrace their young children as part of that wider family community. We work then with those families to support them to access things like the Conway Development Centre. If you're in the south of the county, we know that there is inherently an additional impact of not being on that coastal belt. So how we provide those services to be able to have an access point within the family centre in Llanrwst, to be able to have those communications in the language of your choice with the people that are important to you to understand how to navigate. We receive referrals through from health visitors who may have come across a small baby, they've met the baby's parent and things have shifted. We've talked previously about the impact of grandparenting and how some grandparents provide phenomenal, expensive childcare for comparatively little cost, perhaps other than their exhaustion levels at the end of the week. But we also have other grandparents who find that having successfully reared their children, having anticipated that maybe their child might need care ongoing because of their own circumstances, or they might need other elements of support, that actually they would now be grandparents. that they've had to take on that special guardianship role, that they're having to do more than be a grandparent and take over at a time in their life where their own health, their physical health, their emotional health, their mental health is under additional stress and strain, trying to manage the safe care of a baby. And we provide support effectively to those families. A lot of the support we need to provide to people is around linking them into our welfare rights information. So we have our welfare rights service, which is not funded through this grant. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to draw grant funding for financial guidance and support for people. But we are able to help families to access the funds that we know make a significant impact to support them. For example, through accessing disability living allowance once that child is established within that situation. We have examples of families where there's been real anxiety over the level of cruelty and unkindness that is shown to siblings or strangers by the teenager. And the parent who's managed to successfully navigate those terrifying early years of holding a baby that, if you know, could get broken, who's made it through the between periods where they were discovering all the exciting pop groups that they wanted. They now have a teenager who's rude and vile and unpleasant, and they don't know, and they know that they're the problem as the parent. And you're right, Councillor Austin, there is something very important about recognising the value of parents. The vast majority of our parents want to and actively seek to be brilliant parents. They just want the best for their child. So how can they provide the best for that child and the best for the community and the best for their other children? So we provide things like our Talking Teens programme, where we're able to help those parents to realise that they have got the skills. It's a 4-week evidence-based programme that supports them to nurture themselves and to nurture their teenager, and to realise that actually teenagers are supposed to push back a little bit. It's okay that they rebel. We need them to, because they will become phenomenal adults because they've had the opportunity to exercise their brain. We just want them to do it in a slightly more safe fashion, which is why we work really closely with NAMPBH, providing outdoor activities for families where maybe there's a communication breakdown between the parent and the child, and there's the opportunity to see the parent put at risk. I don't want anyone here who's anxious about abseiling to be put under greater anxiety about it. They're completely safe, but there's an element of seeing that parent vulnerable that allows that teenager to have the opportunity to build their communication skills, to really improve their relationship through really effective outdoor education services that we have in-house with phenomenal knowledge and skills, that we're about to start a big research project, fingers crossed, to explore in further detail, because we think that this is a really positive model for supporting families to engage effectively that we've been able to support through this grant. We provide referrals to organisations like STAND, who help families to navigate additional learning needs, support through the Early Years Enrichment Service, which helps young children who are sort of age 2+ to be able to, and younger, to be able to access nursery services so that their behaviours, if they've got a behavioural complexity or if there's a health element to this, can be supported effectively within those settings, because all children should have access to that part of their lives if they as a family wish to have it. I'm really conscious I could keep going. I've given you 2 whole minutes left of your meeting for consideration. Diolch
Go
yn fawr
on
iawn.
then, Thank you. You do realize we seconded her to Home Office, and since she became back, we can't stop her. No, but thank you both. Anybody have any question for Mark or Hannah? This Chair, Councillor Simon.
Sorry.
Can you hear her?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, I was being
Do you have a
talked to.
question?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you very much to Donna and to Mark.
Hannah and Mark, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Especially for the case
All right,
studies.
she answers by any name, but Hannah is her name.
I'm sorry, that's what it said at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, thank you for the case studies document. That's really a great example of what's happened, of what interventions can be made. And the other question was for Mark, really. Have we managed to establish some providers in Llanrwst and in Junction so we won't be underspent on that grant next time?
Mark?
We're working on it. And like I said, the underspend doesn't reflect how much work has gone on. We've identified many providers, and we work with many providers to deliver in those areas. We still don't have enough. And at the moment, we will still be underspent in the financial year we're in now. because Welsh Government again have ring fenced significant amount of money for those two communities, but we are working very hard with providers. There's a number of barriers which we haven't got time to go into as to why providers don't sign up for the funded childcare, and we're working to try and sort those out at the same time.
Are you satisfied with the answer, Councillor Simon? Any other questions, please? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, can I just thank you for going into that detail on the underspend? Because I think as an authority, we get criticised quite heavily by the public on what we don't spend, what we overspend on. So to have that detailed explanation as to why we've got that underspend and why it can't be spent anywhere else, I think is really important to go out there and to let everybody know. So thank you for that. And if there's no other questions, I'd like to recommend that we move that. Thank you.
Councillor Austin, got proposal.
Diolch yn fawr. I shall say this in English for Hannah's benefits. Hannah always manages to cheer me up. She is so enthusiastic. And one thing for sure, if I'm starting to fall asleep, Hannah will suddenly wake me up. Diolch yn fawr, Hannah. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Also, thank you, Mark, for this report. It's a good report, and thank you for the explanation. As somebody who has to deal with different departments who have to apply for grants for structures in my ward and things like that, I understand how difficult it is. And it's really a silly thing that Welsh Government need to sort out. You know, they give us this money, they should allow us to use all of it.
Yeah.
But there we are. Anyway, I'm happy to second Councillor Kay, and can I thank Councillor Kay for beating me to the proposal, you know, to propose.
Well, it's been seconded. It's been proposed, seconded, and I was going to say that we were on track, but Councillor Lee, it's your fault. Come on, you couldn't delay things now. No, go on.
I just want to say it's a joy to always get this report because the stories are just so wonderful, and I know that Mark, with his research background and his way of managing to get grants, do an excellent job. So, and it's a team effort, isn't it? And within family centres, it's a partnership that works. And I think that is so important because we're so quick, aren't we, to say that health hasn't done this, health hasn't done that. But I've seen for myself the intervention with the health visitors and how you work well together. So, so thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Jenny wants to...
Yeah, I just want to take strong offence from Councillor Austin's comments that he was falling asleep on our items earlier. So, but on a serious note, I do have to put a bit of a dose of reality. These grants are going to be reviewed. You know, all of our early intervention provision is vulnerable. We heard, you know, in the last budget round that some of our the grant would be reprioritised or certainly started to, you know, that there'll be a question over well whether we'll get such really healthy allocations. So that is a real risk for us going forward. And apologies for bringing us down. Sorry, Hannah.
Oh, no, thank you, Jenny. Can we just last thing, have a vote on it? We had everybody, yes, it's been carried, and thank you all. Thank you for your patience. It's only 4:15, so and thank you, Jenny, team, everyone. Yes, speedy recovery, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr, Abdul.